That's crazy. The New York Times trying to rat Zohran so hard that they find a eugenicist, a racist eugenicist who received hacked material from the Columbia database. And this is their like big reveal. And the bombshell revelation here is not even worth the reputational damage that they will incur. They are so desperate to like take out critics of Israel. Anyway, we're gonna do more of this Zohran mania. We're gonna talk about this Zohran Mamdani momentum. Scoop. Benjamin Ryan writes, Scoop, Mamdani identified as Asian and African American on college application. I report with Dana Rubenstein. Zohran Mamdani, Democrat running for mayor of New York City, was born in Uganda. He doesn't consider himself black, but said the application didn't allow for the complexity of his background. Wow. Brilliant. Thank you. Wow, you guys did it. You guys did it. What a scoop. Lol, this weirdo would get a byline on this. He's one of the people who remains hyper scandalized, but when I told Jesse Singal to do the honorable thing, I can see his sense of judgment remains perfect. Wow. What is this? Good morning, New York. While you were sleeping, this was the most read story. Zohran Mamdani's wrong. We need more billionaires, not fewer. As Marxist enjoyers of Financial Times, this puts us all at odds with our favorite newspaper, the real paper of record, Financial Times. Their opinion editorial segment is going to still obviously they're still obviously going to reflect the majority opinion of the readership, which I suspect are not anti-imperialist Marxist-Leninists, in spite of the reality that Financial Times is, and I stand by this, a far better newspaper on their regular reporting side, especially as it pertains to global affairs, than the New York Times by a very wide margin. That remains to be true. This is the New York Times source on the story, who they euphemistically describe as an academic and an opponent of affirmative action. Let's see what else he believes. Last month, wait, what is this? Last month's cyber attack appears to have been carried out in order to see if Columbia was still using race-conscious affirmative action in its admission policies after the Supreme Court effectively barred the practice in 2023. While Mr. Mamdani was not a target of the hack, the information about him was included in a database of millions of student applications to Columbia going back decades. The data was shared with the Times by an intermediary who goes by the name Cremio on Substack and X, and who is an academic and an opponent of affirmative action. The Times agreed to withhold his real name. An anonymous poster obsessed with race and IQ. Musk has replied to at least 2 posts this month from an ex-user who goes by Cremio. The account has more than 200,000 followers and is known for writing about purported genetic differences between racial groups. A typical post from the account claims that black NFL players have lower IQs than white NFL players. Other posts strongly imply that black people are genetically inferior to whites. As my former colleague Ali Brelin noted in The Atlantic, Cremio has been praised on the far right for tracing the genetic pathways of crime and explaining why poverty is not a good causal explanation. Referring to Medicare payments, Musk wrote in response to Cremio on Wednesday, "This is where the big money fraud is happening." What a source. Lead author on this low-effort New York Times Mamdani hit piece a few days ago, just making value-neutral observations, no bias at all. Fewer than 5% of New York City residents cast a first-ranked choice vote for Zohran Mamdani in the Democratic primary last week. Lots of people are still very eager to do some serious, oh yeah, well, quote tweeting of the above tweet, as if I laced a mathematical observation with commentary and spun it into a chest-pounding political treatise, which I did not. Mamdani received top choice votes from about 8.5% of registered voters in New York City. Yeah, for a Democratic primary, he performed above expectations, as a matter of fact. I have private information on a public official who is currently running for an important office. This information shows they engaged in professional misconduct. No one but me and a hacker has this info right now. Is it unethical to release it? I'm glad that he ran a Twitter poll before figuring out the ethics of releasing this thing. And the thing that he released, this damning piece of evidence that he released, is that a man who was born in Uganda, who is of one of the most unique backgrounds we've ever seen, is literally incapable of correctly identifying himself on a form. Fantastic. Wow. Here's Zohran's quote for the New York Times. This feels like something that started as a catchy racist headline that couldn't live up to its promise journalistically. He's Indian Ugandan. Millions of Americans face the same issues with identity checkboxes on applications. Only a newsroom at this 1950s Jim Crow segregationist level of whiteness wouldn't understand this issue. Most college applications don't have a box for Indian Ugandans, so I checked multiple boxes trying to capture the fullness of my background, said Mr. Mamdani, a state lawmaker from Queens. The application allows students to provide more specific information where relevant. And Mr. Mamdani said that he wrote in Ugandan. Even though these boxes are constraining, I wanted my college application to reflect who I was, he added. While neither Mr. Mamdani nor Columbia University could provide the template for the application form the college used at that time, a copy of it was archived online. Mr. Mamdani said he filled out all of his college applications in the same way. Yeah, the U.S. Census sees Middle Eastern and North African people as white. Many don't. Wow, brilliant journalism from the New York Times. Definitely not grasping for straws because they must eliminate all critics of Israel. Fantastic work, guys. Congratulations to the paper of record once again. Absolute masterclass on how news media should conduct itself. If there is a very popular politician that resembles the or echoes the sentiment demonstrated by the overwhelming majority of Americans and actually ends up winning an election in spite of these attacks against him, you know, on the issue of Israel, then we will do everything we can to try and tar and feather this person and try and tarnish this person's reputation. Would you say that Zohran is the most represented you've felt by a politician? Yes. And I don't think there will ever be another politician that I feel as represented by. Obviously, it's not just his background, but it's also his policies. It's more important. His policies are obviously significantly more important to me. But yeah, of course, a 33-year-old cosmopolitan Muslim socialist. It's crazy. We're the same age.
You could address some of these comments that the president made earlier this morning. He was talking about Zohran Mamdani saying that we'll have to arrest him if he interferes with ICE. And he also talked about you and saying that you were.
If he interferes with ICE, arrest Mamdani.
If he interviews with ICE.
Interferes.
Interferes.
Yeah, if he interferes with ICE, he'll have to be arrested. Just wondering, where do you stand on that? And he also talked about how you were a good independent option, and he obviously supported you. So where do you stand on both of those?
Well, no one should. I've said this over and over again, and I'm going to continue to say it until it resonates and people may appreciate it in a period of reflection. ICE is a federal law enforcement agency. It is not some illegal entity. This administration will collaborate with our federal agencies when it comes to criminal behavior. We're not going to collaborate if it comes down to civil enforcement. The law doesn't allow us to do that. And anyone that is an elected or not should never interfere with federal authorities carrying out their function. Because if someone doesn't like ICE, what happens if you don't like the IRS? What happens if you don't like the environmental protection? You just can't pick and choose. And my pet peeve is disorder. I don't feel comfortable around disorder. Maybe it's my blind side that I just don't like disorder. We can't have systems of disorder. And so I will encourage anyone not to interfere with federal authorities.
He's not trying to win the election, I don't think. Like, that's crazy. He's speaking like a man who cares about not having the Department of Justice decision come down on him, and not as a man who is desperately trying to win the mayoral race. He looks like he's under duress.
Legally carrying out their actions. And so the president makes his determination what he's going to do. I'm not a federal elected official. I keep saying that over and over again. I'm a city elected official. I'm the mayor of the greatest city on the globe, and that's New York City. And I have enough things to improve on in this city that I'm doing than to talk about what they're doing on the federal level. We got federal authorities. Federal authorities need to do their job.
There is literally pre-existing state and city law that gives the mayor and also state officials the responsibility to not collaborate with ICE in the way that Eric Adams is collaborating with ICE and cooperating with ICE right now. Now, of course, the reason why Eric Adams is cooperating with ICE is not because he thinks, he's law-abiding or whatever, and he doesn't have the authority to override federal mandate. It's because he had a Department of Justice case due to his corrupt affairs, due to his corruption charges working with Turkish government envoys. And then the Trump administration took that away and are now dangling that as a carrot in front of him. They took those charges away, and then they said, we can bring these charges back at any moment if you don't cooperate with us. Incredible stuff.
Right now, the drama continuing on the House floor. Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has been using his magic minute to delay a vote on the One Big Beautiful bill for over 7 hours. Jeffries claims he's, quote, taking his sweet time on behalf of the American people. No thanks. Whenever he's done speaking, House Speaker Mike Johnson will take the podium for what's expected to be a brief speech. Then we'll see a final vote to decide whether the OB3 reaches President Trump's desk or sends lawmakers back to the drawing board. We'll be keeping a close eye on the House floor all hour long, and we'll bring you the news as it happens. First, we are getting an idea of how New York City Democratic mayoral nominee Zohran Mamdani, who also self-identifies as a Democratic socialist, may address the Big Apple's affordability crisis. Hello, everyone. This is Outnumbered. I'm Emily Campagno, and joining us today, Carly Shimkus, Fox & Friends' first co-host, Lydia Hu, Fox Business correspondent, Kaylee McGee-White, Fox News contributor, and Charlie Hurt, Fox & Friends weekend co-host. Now, resurfaced video from 2021 shows the socialist candidate pushing to limit private housing and increase public communal housing.
No. Bombshell. Guys, did you know about this? This is scary. Dude, I hate when Fox News does this and doesn't issue a trigger warning beforehand. What? Wait, is it the Gravel video? Oh my God, it is the Gravel video. I'm going to die. Oh my God. You mean to tell me that Zohran Mamdani thinks that we should have government housing just like in Vienna, which is, as everybody knows, Red Vienna, that's what they call it. It is a socialist communist state. It is authoritarian. Okay? If you want a strudel, if you don't eat a strudel, they beat your ass. Do you understand? If you don't eat a schnitzel, they beat you. 65% government-owned housing. Shocking video resurfaces. Shocking.
Housing. Watch.
Why do so many people end up homeless? It's not because there aren't enough homes to go around. There are plenty of empty homes. No, it's because housing people is not the primary goal of developers or landlords.
No. Stop. I'm so I got goosebumps. I feel so unsafe right now. Chat, can you believe he said this? This is turning into that meme of like, look at Zohran being awesome and right and very cool for 5 minutes. Okay? What a radical, dude. What a radical. Oh my God. Someone has to deal with this guy. This is terrifying.
Their goal, simply put, is to make a profit. If we want to end the housing crisis, the solution has to be moving toward the full decommodification of housing. In other words, moving away from the status quo in which most people access housing by purchasing it on the market, and toward a future where we guarantee high-quality housing to all as a human right.
But history...
That's up. You hear that? You hear that shit? I'm not seeing a lot of terrified emojis in the chat. I'm seeing a lot of people saying, I'm nutting. Seems like this guy's sarcastic. I'm terrified of these amazing things. Excuse me. You shouldn't be sarcastic about that. This is terrifying. Okay? Imagine if houses are not seen as a speculative asset and that everyone gets sheltered. That's up, I think. I haven't really thought this out. Let me think really quickly. What about the landlords? That's right.
Shows that public housing has been plagued by chronic underfunding, leading to major problems in both big and small cities across the country. From New York City and Chicago.
Mamdani and Waltz are the same. Big smile and hand over heart. Both are unwell. New York somehow wants to be a mess, it seems. As a truck driver, I can tell you it's industry-wide that trucks avoid city areas with housing projects, especially at night because of the high crime poverty associated with the area. The best companies for jobs will leave New York if he gets into office. Be careful, New Yorkers, and think about what you're doing. We need cheaper housing, not free housing. Send them to Cuba and go take a look at how successful socialism is in Cuba. I mean, you can't even go to Cuba directly. Like, there are limitations placed upon people who want to travel to Cuba, not by the Cuban government, but by the American one. So, yeah.
Chicago to Boston and Pittsburgh, horror stories of problems inside public housing units capture just how bad some of the conditions are. Cancer-causing chemicals, mold and neglect, infested with mice, rats, roaches, and toxic mold. Those are just a few. President Trump vowing to act as a safeguard against some of Mamdani's more radical proposals wrote this on Truth Social, quote, "I'm not going to let this communist lunatic destroy New York. Rest assured, I hold all the levers and have all the cards. I'll save New York City and make it hot and great again, just like I did with the good old USA." Charlie Hurt, lots to unpack, and I see you delighted by his Truth Social post.
Yeah, no, Trump has a great way of putting it. You know, the thing I love about Mamdani is that what this is more than anything else is a complete rejection of Democrat policies and Democrat control. Democrats have run New York City for decades. These are all Democrat policies, and they have all...
Yeah, it seems like this is a different kind of Democrat who wants to change that, no? After all, he won in the Democratic primary going up against the institutional Democrats. So yeah, you got it. You're not wrong. Just not in the direction that you think you're right. You know, you're right, but in the wrong way.
Failed. And the idea that now they're going to turn to more cowbell because socialism light wasn't enough, so they're going to go full communism. It's not going to work out well. If you think that the subways are bad, wait until you have the city-run grocery stores. And if you think city-run grocery stores are bad, wait until you have forced public housing for everyone. It's going to be a catastrophe. And I pray New York pulls back from the ledge.
And it's so rich, Carly, no pun intended, coming from the guy that lives in a $3 million Chelsea apartment.
Yeah,
Is he going to move to public housing too then?
And that's probably why he believes what he believes, because you have to be affluent to have the privilege to say the things that he does. And I recently interviewed last week Republican Assemblyman Matt Slater, who serves with Mamdani right now. And he said that Mamdani once joked with him saying, "We are both red, just different shades." Meaning you're a Republican and I'm a communist. That was Matt Slater's actual interpretation of the joke, which I think should be an article written in a major focus in and of itself. So Zohran Mamdani is not hiding who he is and what he believes in. He was just...
Yeah, exactly. Which should tell you something about the way people perceive him, because they hear those things and they go, "A better future is possible?" ? Yeah, people hear that and they go, "I like this. I didn't realize I like this. I didn't realize that politicians said things like this. I had never heard of a major politician saying things like this. I wish more politicians would say things like this." Is that a $3 million apartment in Chelsea owned by him? He probably rents. Yeah, I highly doubt that he actually owns the apartment himself.
Asked, what do you think of capitalism? And he said, "I don't like it." And he...
But also, that'd be really funny if he also owns a $3 million property. He lives in Astoria. Oh, yeah, he does rent. That's true. Dude, that would be so funny if he also owned a $3 million property. That's so cool. He literally took Bernie more left and became more popular. It's epic. Yeah.
He wants to be the mayor of the largest financial center in the world. The Wall Street Journal recently described him saying that Zohran Mamdani is the living embodiment of the summer of 2020, which I think is a totally accurate description. And it's also why I'm not bullish on his ascension to power, because I think that most people and most Democrats are over that. And the proof is that Donald Trump gained 95,000 votes in New York City this past election, and Democrats lost 500,000. So I think the only way Mamdani wins is if the other candidates split the vote, which is why Andrew Cuomo needs to get out of the race and why Bill Ackman just endorsed Mayor Eric Adams. So Zohran Mamdani may have the vocal, young, energized, white portion of the Democrat Party, but it's now Mayor Eric Adams' job to keep it in the minority.
Yeah. All right, Lydia, so strategy aside for a moment, anti-Semitism aside for a moment of this candidate, talk to us about the economic disastrous potential to the city even more, because we haven't recovered from COVID. Midtown's still empty.
Mamdani? Wait, Midtown is still empty. What?
Still empty. People are still leaving. You know, one thing that I think is...
Bro, what? You guys are in New York. What do you mean? New York is empty. Dude, Midtown is empty is so funny. You're literally in New York right now. Like, we can see behind you. Aren't they in Midtown? What the? Look at that. What is happening? No. They are literally in Midtown. You can see the crowded streets behind them bustling. Okay. What the? This is the best representation of how Fox News operates. Okay. Where they're basically saying, do not believe what you can see immediately behind me. A live feed of Midtown as a TV screen. Oh man. Yeah. What do you think it's showing? What do you think the TV screen is showing, chatters? Is showing a live feed of Midtown right outside of the Fox News studio. That's so funny. It's showing Midtown in the 90s. That chatter is why Fox exists. I know.
So appalling is that
like there's literally, while she was saying that, you can directly see traffic and people walking on the street.
Potential to the city even more, because we haven't recovered from COVID. Midtown's still empty.
Look, there's a fuck ton of people walking on the sidewalk. Look at it. It's right there. It's literally next to her, which makes it even funnier.
Empty. People are still leaving. You know,
like it's the background.
Disastrous potential to the city even more, because we haven't recovered from COVID. Midtown's still empty.
She's pointing to it. She even points to it. Oh my God, she even points to it. That's crazy. That's just all the people leaving Hasan. Yeah. They're walking to leave Hasan, man. You don't get it. Do not believe what is, I assume, a live feed of Midtown right behind me. This is a live feed of Times Square. Stop! This is a lie. This is a lie. This is artificial intelligence. Classic lies from the lying Democrats, dude. That's AI. There's no one there. I went. See, it's busted. It's not even showing correctly. It's not even showing correctly. See, it's like patchy and glitchy because the AI is glitching.
Empty.
Still empty. People are still leaving. You know, one thing that I think is so appalling is that Zohran Mamdani knows about the quality means for several years. I formerly was a reporter, a local news reporter here in the city. So I've had the opportunity to do a lot of stories focused on public housing, having visited residents there to talk to them about the dire and
New York City office vacancy rates are 17%, higher for longer. New York office vacancy rates from May New York office market is on a recovery path as of Q1 2025, driven by improving foot traffic and projected office using employment growth of 0.5% over the next 2 years. Although the historical correlation between office using employment and occupied office stock has weakened over the last 2 decades, the labor market remains resilient. Nonetheless, this recovery is not without challenges. While the U.S. office vacancy rate increased by 10 BPS, what is this, quarter over quarter, to reach another all-time high of 20.4% in the first quarter of 2025, the New York Metro is on a path to recovery as it saw its vacancy rate cumulatively decline by 70 BPS over the past 2 quarters, which last occurred in the first half of 2019. At 12.7%, New York's office vacancy rate is the second lowest among the primary 82 office markets tracked by Moody's, with Palm Beach, Florida ranking first at 12.3%. It's the second lowest in the country. New York City is the second least empty like business capital.
Disgusting and frankly sometimes unlivable conditions in some of these buildings. You're talking about infestation, you're talking about mold, lack of ventilation, claims that they're being made sick from living there. And then on top of that, there's just recently a huge investigation by the DOJ that unveiled years of fraud and corruption where
Overall, Midtown New York City is much higher. For the record, Fox News and I support Zohran. I'm just saying retail and office vacancies are high. It's the article that you sent me supports the opposite argument. Am I misreading something? I'm from Vienna and I'm literally dying from mold right now. Send help.
where people that were working at the public housing developments were taking millions of dollars of bribes. Even after this was uncovered, what did the public housing do after folks admitted to this? They went back to the same contractors and allowed them to continue to work.
Yeah, I can't believe Zohran Mamdani was the president and also the landlord and also the mayor and also the governor at the time. So I can't believe that he did all of those things. It's really f***ed up how he was responsible for that and not like representing a clear change from that kind of business as usual politics.
Work with these same folks. So if you are for unlivable conditions, if you are for unhealthy apartments, if you're for fraud and corruption, then yeah, maybe Mamdani's plans for public housing and commune living sound great.
This article is so racist. It finally got Jamel Bowie to publicly criticize his employer. No way. Jamel Bowie criticized the New York Times? That's wild. That's not normal. Still waiting on his take on Israel-Palestine. It's coming any day. He is a South Asian man born in Uganda. And the source is a eugenicist who opposes affirmative action because he thinks brown people are an inferior race. Cool. I just think you should tell readers if your source is a Nazi. I have no issue saying Ben Ryan is basically more or less a gay dude who basically wants to be a log cabin Republican so bad. Everything I've seen about him screams a guy with little to no actual brain activity. Wait, what the f***? Is Jamel Bowie no longer working at the New York Times? This is unique. Because I'm a little surprised, I'll be honest. I am definitely. Damn, he's straight up calling his paper's own reporter an imbecile. He still works there. He just went full Andor over on Blue Sky. Yeah, the guy who wrote that article that you guys are talking about is literally a race scientist. Like, he's like a eugenicist who spends most of his time tweeting about how black people are genetically inferior, by the way, and also more predisposed to doing crime because of their low IQs. So good source for the New York Times on this hit piece. This is the source. The author of the article, on the other hand, is one of those like COVID denialists, kind of. He's one of those. He's one of those like vaccine efficacy critics. Like, he's like a weird guy. The guy who wrote the article is weird as well. Anyway, the guy the New York Times agreed not to name in exchange for hacked materials was already outed as a white supremacist by The Guardian months ago. Jordan Lasker, a.k.a. Cremu. One of the speakers of the conference is billed under a social media alias, Cremu, but The Guardian has corroborated the account is apparently run by Jordan Lasker, a longtime proponent of eugenics. The Cremu Recuel X account has been boosted or engaged with dozens of times by that platform's proprietor, Elon Musk, also a eugenicist, often on the topic of falling birth rates. I'd love to see the editorial process on the slop that would have been questionable to publish by the New York Post compared to, say, an article on the confirmed fact of ritualized massacres at Gaza aid sites. That's crazy. The New York Times trying to Zohran so hard that they find a eugenicist, a racist eugenicist who received hacked material from the Columbia database. And this is their like big reveal. And the bombshell revelation here is not even worth the reputational damage that they will incur. That is the gamble at the New York Times right now. They are so desperate to like take out critics of Israel that they will literally destroy what remains, the shred of reputation and credibility they have, in an effort to turn into the New York Post, dude. New York Times' reputation, yes, chatter. New York Times still is the paper of record, is still considered the gray lady. It's still considered a reputable newspaper by a lot of powerful people. They, as a matter of fact, they serve exclusively those wealthy liberals that want to read about what's going on in the world from this interesting framework. Yes, the New York Times' reputation is dog shit here in this community. If you think that you resemble the average American power broker, you are delusional, okay? Your perspective is off base. Also, I still defend the New York Times. So what are we talking about? The New York Times is still incredibly important as a piece of newspaper, as a piece, as a way to understand the world. It's just you have to have like you have to have some hand holding in the process. You have to have like one of those little glasses that changes certain words into others in order to read through you have to filter it basically. Yeah, you have to have a decoder ring. I mean, I still work with the New York Times. I literally gave a reporter working on a story this morning some quotes for 30 minutes. Okay? There are still great journalists that work at the New York Times as well. It's just that if we're talking about Israel, no. Big no. One of the worst. Hasan, please stop lying to your audience. I'm writing this from Midtown Manhattan. I have not seen another human being in over 6 years. I'm surviving solely on eating rats and drinking rat piss. The closest encounter I had with another living soul, except the rats, was fighting over a feral cat in the empty subway for an especially large rat. Every day is a nightmare. The sounds of the streets is nothing but my breathing, occasionally interrupted by rat squeaks. Help. I heard that, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard that there were a couple people that were pushing the subway trains. Like there's no more energy. The energy grid is completely busted. So the trains don't work. So now they have to pull the trains. Yeah. Electricity is gone. Rats do not have swag. It's Yanmi York. Fake news, they're rat powered. But yeah, there are obviously still good reporters at the New York Times. These guys that are on the byline here are not any of them. And also simultaneously, the editorial board has tremendous control over what kind of good reporting gets put out, unfortunately.
I would be concerned if you're worried about how, housing, how we're going to get out of this affordability crisis across the country. Mamdani's, plan might be something you should take note of, because that's what the Democrats are going to be pushing now.
Yeah, and so Kaylee, talk to us about that. So the breakdown, really the minority communities, the underserved, lower income communities here did not vote for him at all, right? He got the rich, white, Upper East Side vote. But how does this bode for the Democratic Party moving forward? What are they going to do with this socialist wing? And I have to admit, guys, when I saw the president's Truth Social post, I was like, oh, thank God. I mean, as a New Yorker, I was like, yes, thank you. Please, someone, we need a Batman to prevent this.
He is going to make New York hot again. It's interesting. Democrats are really embracing Zohran Mamdani, endorsing him in the general, which is quite shocking. And I think they're doing so because he was able to tap into the young adults vote. They know that that is a demographic that they are struggling with, and they want to be able to tap into that. And unfortunately, you know, Mamdani's plan for public housing, this is a great example of the larger progressive delusion that true socialism will work. It just hasn't been tried before. But that's exactly the kind of message that young adults fell for. And the reason why is pretty simple. Young adults are struggling economically, and they are being persuaded by quick fixes and temporary solutions that actually do nothing to address the long-term crisis they're facing. It's just a fact that Gen Z adults my age are struggling to break into the housing market, for example. There was a recent article that found that the new first-time average home buyer is about 56 years old. Back in the 80s, it was 26 years old. There are massive barriers to entry for Gen Z adults, and very few political leaders on either side of the aisle are talking about those issues, let alone proposing solutions to them. And in the absence of that, they are going to be persuaded by people like Zohran Mamdani, who are at least willing to listen to and engage with the issues that young adults are facing. And so I think Peter Thiel actually put it pretty well. He was talking about why so many young adults are being persuaded by socialism. And he said that if you don't have any investment in the capitalist system, you're more likely to turn against it in the first place. That is something that both political parties are going to have to wrestle with.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.
Zohran is a Democratic socialist who just won the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City. Now, Zohran is the first ever Muslim nominee for this position, but he was also not even a U.S. citizen until 2017. His family immigrated here from Uganda, and before he started his career in politics, he was a rapper. Shirtless.
Damn, 55,000 views. Washed.
It's a rap. Get the guap, spin the rack on your naughty. Spin the rack.
She likes it. She likes
Like,
it.
not only is he rapping in a food truck, he is also rapping shirtless with old people surrounding him holding falafel wraps. I genuinely do not know what is going on. But I will say, the one place where I will give this man credit is that he has no shame. Like, he has gone on CNN, MSNBC, and they talk about his rapping career, and he's like, yeah, I was a rapper.
Zohran Mamdani, he's a self-proclaimed Democrat socialist.
Wait. Ain't no way, dog. Asking New Yorkers if they will vote for a communist for mayor. Zohran is over now that his rap videos have been leaked. Also, I don't get it. I mean, Femme Shabibo is a failed artist as well. So I thought she would be a little bit more sympathetic. She wanted to be an actress. She failed to do so. And now this is what she does. Zohran Mamdani. Wait, he wrote his name wrong. Bro can't even get it right for the algo. He's so racist that he got the name wrong, which is not even helping his algorithm. Mamdani. Like, he can't even speak correctly. Like, he looks like a type of dude who like chews on his hoodie strings. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, I feel like it's too much. Like, this is, I don't want to hear from John Fetterman Zoomer version about Zohran Mamdani. Hasan Reactions is one of the best ones in the React channel.